Use your knowledge. I am Joseph. This is Input English. For those of you joining us for the first time, this channel is all about comprehensible input, the best way to learn English. If you're new to comprehensible input, this channel has a bunch of videos on how it works and how you can use it to learn English well. This episode is about how you can use your time wisely and learn more efficiently. This is not going to be some dishonest scheme with a bunch of false claims. No. Comprehensible input takes time. It takes a lot of time in contact with the language, but some activities will result in more learning compared to others. We all come to language learning with a body of knowledge. We are adults. We already know one or more languages, and we know a lot about a lot of different things. We also bring our own interests. We learned from the field of cognitive psychology that the strength of storing new knowledge in our brain is related to how interconnected that new knowledge is with things we already know. Well, this is great for us because as adult language learners, we have a lot of things in our brain to connect this new language to. This is super helpful. Things we already know give us opportunities to make content more comprehensible, more understandable. I noticed this phenomenon many years ago when I was living in Austria. When I arrived in Austria, I knew very little German, although I had studied German in school for 2 years. It wasn't pretty. I was studying in a university, and I was living in the city of Graz. Graz is a relatively large city, but it's not a tourist destination. So the local people didn't speak much English. The day-to-day was mostly conducted in German. The faculty at the university was bilingual or trilingual or more, so I had no trouble functioning at the university when I was involved in discussions. My colleagues in the department were very happy to speak to me in English and include me in conversations. Frequently, they spoke to each other in German, so I got a lot of input. This input, hearing discussions in the department in German, was in context because I knew what they were talking about. I knew the subject matter. This made that content much more understandable. Plus, I could ask questions, so I could get the points clarified. This was a very rich opportunity for me to learn the subject matter, but also learn more German. It was common to attend lectures, and those lectures were in German. And I was very impressed that I could really understand the lectures because I knew what the subject was. I could see illustrations on the slides that were being shown, and the combination of visual cues and knowledge about the subject matter made those presentations very comprehensible. After one very technical lecture in the evening, I went home marveling how I wasn't paying attention to the fact that the lecture was given in German. I was just watching the lecture, enjoying it, and understanding it. That was a real revelation for me. You can use this same phenomenon in your program to learn English. Since my sojourn in Austria, we have seen the development of the internet, and the internet is now robust. You can get information on any subject you want in many different languages. Given that, you can think about your interests and you can consider finding information in those areas in English. And for instance, watch videos on your favorite subjects in English. I did that during my journey learning Spanish. I have a lot of different interests, and one of them is photography. I found a YouTube channel called De Viaje con la Cámara. Now, this YouTube channel is run by two fellows, good photographers, professional photographers, and they appear to be from the Barcelona area in Spain. This is not a language learning channel. This is a photography channel. But I understand them very well. As my level in Spanish has grown, I understand them extremely well. And one of the reasons this content is so understandable to me is I know the subject matter. Not only do I know it, I enjoy it. I'm pulled into their content. I want to know what these two fellows are telling me. Another YouTube channel from Spain I have used in the same way is Los Videos de Felix. So Felix is a fellow from the Madrid area, and his videos on YouTube are all about technology and particularly drone flying. Well, I'm a drone pilot. I have a license here in the United States as a commercial drone pilot. And so I'm very interested in drones. So it's easy for me to watch his videos because of my interest and my understanding of that area of discussion. His videos make sense, but they're not language learning videos. He's not speaking slowly. He's talking about drones, and I get pulled in to his content. As you gather hours and hundreds of hours, perhaps thousands of hours of comprehensible input in English, you may find opportunities to hone in on some content that is actually made by natives, for natives, and is not content made for language learning. But this would be something that you are very, very interested in and hopefully knowledgeable about. If you're interested in a particular craft or sport, some sort of interesting activity, you might look for content on that topic in English. Now, you have to judge whether this content is useful to you. But the yardstick that you're using to measure its utility is the same old yardstick. So for content to be useful for you, it needs to be interesting. It needs to be compelling. It needs to pull you in. It needs to keep your interest focused on the subject matter. It needs to be comprehensible. You need to actually be able to understand either the story or the discussion. It needs to make sense. If you don't know a lot of the words, then your efficiency of using this for content will go way down. The other thing I noticed when I watched videos on these channels that were made by natives for natives is it allowed me to get a sense of progress. Because the first time I watched videos like this, they were harder to understand. But as hundreds of hours accumulated in my program, these videos got easier and easier. And of course, you know the equation. The videos don't change. Once they're recorded, they are not going to change. It's the viewer that's changing. We change. Our level in the language improves, and the videos get easier because we know more. I don't spend a lot of time on native content like television series or movies, because these sources tend to be full of slang. Frequently, they don't hold my interest, and they're not always very dense with language. Content like movies can be very sparse in language because of chase scenes, fights, music, scenery shots. There's a lot in cinematography that is not spoken language. Now, if you're going to watch a movie anyway, and you can understand what's being said, then do consider watching it in English. Watching movies in English while you are accruing more and more experience with the language will give you a sense of progress as your level in English rises. The internet and YouTube provide a very rich offering of content, and we have the tools to filter what we want to watch. So if you're choosing content in English, you know what to choose. It should be comprehensible, interesting, and compelling. It should pull you in and keep your interest focused on that content. I invite comments below. If you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.